I think we're live. I hope we're live. So, someone tried to trick me last week, and I hope to film this video sooner for training purposes for anyone going through the system. And then, of course, we've had these really terrible fires in Los Angeles. I've been going back and forth. My parents evacuated, they're okay. I've had so many friends lose their homes in Malibu and the Palisades. So, it's a tragic time. You find perspective through it. To my friends in Los Angeles, I miss and love you. And Happy New Year to all of you. It's good to be with you. I actually filmed this video 3 hours ago after I dropped my kids off at school live, but the wind is horrific and the Wi-Fi was awful, so it was going in and out. I said, "Damn it, I'm gonna delete it. I'm gonna start over." So here we are. By the way, welcome again to the White Collar Advice community. If you find value, like and subscribe. This is actually against my motto, how I open a video. I typically just get right into value, but it's the new year. We're starting anew. And by the way, if you find value in our work, also join our live weekly webinar every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. If you're still with me, thank you. When I mentioned that I got tricked last week, someone called, and I don't really do sales on our team anymore, but they called me direct. And because my YouTube my numbers on so many places going back over 15 years with the same number, people call, sometimes I pick up. And he said, "Can you hold on a second?" I said, "Sure." And he said he was a physician who had been sentenced to prison and he had questions and he had been watching our videos and he wanted to know how our team could prepare him. And right out of the gate, he was pretty aggressive in his questioning. What can you do? What is RDAP? What is the First Step Act? First Step Act, what can I do? What are you going to do for me? Do I need to bring my wife into this? Very aggressive, a lot of questions, which was fine. But I said, in order to help, it's important that I understand some questions. I don't really have a script. I want to give you some helpful information, whether you work with our team or use our free stuff. We just want to help you. And at the end of this call, you should be a little further along. I'm not an aggressive sales dude. I just want to learn and ask some questions. Is that okay? He said, "Sure." So this is helpful for all of you traversing the system who are looking to prepare to sort of understand what the process should look like as you assess who might ever be of value to you. So I said, help me understand what you did leading up to this call. Now, that's a great takeaway for all of you as you're going through your own advocacy. And I'm so thankful that people in our community will say, "I've watched your videos." And I will frequently say, watching is a good idea, but we've got to act, we've got to create, we've got to build. So I said, "What did you do leading up to this phone call?" And he just didn't engage. He didn't say much. And I said, "Okay, that's okay. You're not really ready to talk about it. Help me understand how long this investigation has been going on." And this is important for you as a defendant. So you see how our team would manage a sales call. It's 90% listening, 10% talking, taking notes. Every now and again, when I did sales, someone would say, "Are you there?" I'd say, "Yes, I'm just taking notes right now. I'm listening. I can't ask another question until I have enough information." So then I tried to engage. Help me understand how long this investigation has been going on. And besides perhaps watching some videos and hiring a lawyer, what have you done to improve your situation? Nothing. Clearly didn't want to engage. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst and 10 being the best, how well have you prepared for the next phase? No engagement. Just want to get into, what do you charge? What do you do? Will you get me into RDAP? Is there a guarantee? And that's when I knew that we had a problem. I love the show The Penguin that I streamed on Amazon Prime. And there's this great line in the 5th episode where Oz, or the penguin, is walking out and he says to his associate, "Don't do anything wrong. I'll sense it." And by now I've been doing this for 15 years. It's my entire life. So I sensed that there was a problem. Something was afoot. And I said, I'm just going to play it through. I'm going to have not fun, but I'm going to engage. And we went through it for like another 10 minutes. And at the end of the call, I said, I don't think our team can help you, but I wish you well. And I encourage you to advocate and really demonstrate through your own efforts why you're a candidate for leniency. And he said, "Okay, thanks." And then before I hung up, a few seconds went by, and then he said to someone, "Did I ask all the questions you want me to ask?" Which told me, forgive me, my phone's ringing, which told me that, which I already knew, it was a competitor or someone was on the line faking that they were going to prison. So right out of the gate, we have the issue that someone who might want to come into this industry is cheating or exploiting or pretending to be someone that they are not. And that's part of the reason the prison consulting industry is partly loathed, because you have charlatans and people who engage in this sort of conduct, and anyone thinks they can go to prison and come home and be a consultant. It's part of why I don't brand myself a consultant. Call us whatever you like. So that's a problem right out of the gate, and why this industry is generally loathed. But moreover, I thought it would be a teaching opportunity for all of you going through the system as you assess what to do next. And that's how I'll spend the next few minutes of this live video before I wrap it up and get ready for our call today. our webinar today at 1 p.m. I'd encourage all of you, wherever you are in the journey, to assess what have you done since you became a target of a federal investigation? What have you done through your own efforts, besides retaining a lawyer, to try to demonstrate that you're different than the government's version of events? And that's something our team will frequently ask on a call. For example, if you were to speak with our team, we'd say, what is your lawyer's perception of you? What is the prosecutor's perception of you? And in asking that question, it requires you as a defendant to put yourself in the shoes of a government stakeholder. We'll ask, what does a prosecutor want? I don't know. Let me tell you. A prosecutor may want to advance their career, look it on television, get convictions, focus on victims in justice. They have a perception of you. We then may ask, well, what have you done to change that perception? What are you doing to demonstrate that you're different? And oftentimes defendants will say, I've done nothing. I didn't know there anything, I could do anything at all. I've hired a lawyer. Isn't that what a lawyer's supposed to do? From there, we'll ask more questions. Did you see the interview with Judge Boo or Judge Bennett? No, that's okay. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's come back to the preparations you've made leading up to this phone call. So we established this gap, so to speak, of what's been happening and everything that's been done leading up to this call. Then we'll ask a very simple, question. What would you like to accomplish by working with our team, or what are you hoping to accomplish if you're getting ready to go to federal prison? What is success for you? Well, I want to get out as quickly as possible. That's vague. Can you be more specific? Well, I have a 4-year sentence. I've read about this program and this program and this program. I want to get out as quickly as possible. That is a very clearly defined goal. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? Is there anything else? No, what else is there? Well, talk to me about any reputational fallout. Yes, there is many. What else? Well, there's a lot of, my bank fired me. What else? I'm struggling financially. What else? So you go through this whole litany of issues, and then it gets to a point where everything is right in front of them, along with regrets that's led up to this phone call. Then we can ask really easy questions. Moving forward, from your perspective, how can you get back on track? What is something specific you can do? Now, some people know exactly what they can do. Some people have absolutely no idea because they're so overwhelmed and they have such regret over the poor prep that went into this outcome. So the more we ask, the more we can learn, and then we can get specifically into how our team can help, or if the person's able to do it by themselves and solve the problem on their own, they should. And we tell them that. We promise them. We will never lie to you. We will be transparent. We will never ask you to do anything our team hasn't done and still do. And if you're able to get there on your own and invest the time and do it correctly, do it. If you'd like to shorten that process, we're here. But it's time to begin. And then depending on the call, we may ask them more about those judge interviews, right? Did you hear what Judge Bennett said about the defendant doing the nuts and bolts of the work? Yes or no? Did you hear Judge Boo say, if you broke my window, don't say, I'm sorry, what's the plan to fix the window? Then we may ask, how are you fixing the window? How have you fixed the window beyond, I'm sorry, I cooperated and gave back a few bucks? How are you fixing the window through your own efforts? Now, here's what's interesting about defendants, something I've learned. Many people are actually fixing the window. They're doing a very good job. They're working at jobs beneath their skill set. They're rebuilding. They have sent back some money. They are truly remorseful. They are growing their network. Many have done that. Others, unfortunately, don't do anything at all. What's tragic is, of course, those who don't do anything at all. Some people do that. You need to get on track. It's also equally tragic for the person that's begun to do the work and they actually haven't documented any of that work. Cynical judges have told us if it's not documented, it didn't happen. So we ask them, what is the perception of a case manager in prison? Well, what do you mean? What does everyone want in prison? They want to get out of prison. Okay, if everyone wants to get out of prison, how do you separate yourself? I don't know how. Not by telling them. They know you didn't have bad intentions and you want to get home to your family. Does it make more sense to do exactly what Judge Boo told you to do, or Judge Bennett told you to do, which is to fix the window, build, and create it? I've never heard this before. That's okay. That's why we're on the phone together. And I suspect had you begun doing this 6 months, a year, or 2 or 3 years ago, the sentencing outcome might have been different. But we're not magicians. We can't change the past. You're on the phone with our team because you want to do better moving forward. So in order to do that, I have to ask questions, and you have to honestly assess your willingness to prepare. Are you actually open to doing the work, or do you want to blame and excuse it wasn't my fault, it was my lawyer? If you go through this long enough, in the end, a defendant is going to do one of two things: say, nothing I do matters, embrace that cynicism, and that happens. Others are going to say, I want to follow a best practice approach to moving forward. And sometimes in our calls, we'll share what Chris Maloney has shared with our team, the former chief of probation. And these are interviews that all of you can watch. These are interviews I share when we do our weekly webinar. I actually put the links up. I will play specific clips of what Boo, Bennett, and others have said to us. Now, we've interviewed many judges. Two were kind enough to come on YouTube with us. Chris Maloney, for example, 4 minutes into his interview with Michael Santos, said, yeah, I want to know what a defendant is doing. We want to see evidence of change from the defendant. We need to see the paperwork, the growth, the progress from the defendant, because we're going to be following them their entire journey, not just through the probation interview and sentencing in prison, but someday that probation officer, one of the first things they'll do is look at the probation report. It's tragic how many people in our community reach out and say, I wasn't prepared for the probation report. It was 10 minutes. I didn't understand it. And then even when we tell them ways that they can improve it and change it, they don't. They cower. They don't want to go through this discomfort. They just accept this is the way it is. That isn't best in class advocacy. That isn't getting closer to success as so many people define it, which is a shorter sentence or getting home more quickly. The best day to begin preparing was yesterday. The second best day is today. And it starts, I guess how I'll begin to wrap up this video. You can only do that if you embrace the perception or reality of stakeholders. A judge is cynical, a prosecutor is cynical, a case manager respects a federal judge and the victims more than they do you. And unless you've created these assets, narratives, plans, strategies, and build and document them through your own efforts, you're not going to get closer to what you want, which is more liberty and a better life. Everyone wants a better life. Everyone wants to get out of prison as quickly as possible, though at times when they hear the work required to get that, it's easier to say it than do it. So if stakeholders are telling us this, and if you know as a defendant that at some point this experience is going to end, namely your federal prison term is ending, and if you know that this experience can last for weeks, months, decades, and years, it behooves you, in our opinion, and this is what we would say to you if you scheduled a call with our team, to do exactly what Michael Santos taught me to do in prison, to reverse engineer this process. Don't just think it as when you want to get out of prison or when you want to end probation, 10, 15, 20 years into the future, and work your way back. And in so doing, you'll know exactly what to do today, this very moment. And that's what I wish for all of you. So if you'd like to learn more, I encourage you to join our weekly webinar today at 1 p.m. Pacific. It's free. And any questions you have, we'll answer them. Today, we're going to be talking about strategic release planning on our call and ways that you can build and create and grow it to overcome very, 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 very cynical stakeholders. Happy New Year. If you're in Southern California, like my friends and family, I hope you are all safe. Bye-bye.